our learning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We will talk about it at another time. It was very interesting learning when we say Shema and that Hashem is one, that we tend to think like, okay, we believe in one God instead of many gods. And that's okay. Some people like many gods, some people like one God. Like, what difference does it make? It's like a, chocolate, vanilla type of thing. And what does that really mean? So it had nothing to do with what I was listening to. The topic of the class was about from Kings, the book of Kings in the Tanakh. But it was talking about the Jewish people falling into idolatry all the time, falling into idolatry. And we can't really fathom what this means. But as a side point, the teacher who was giving the class talked about just one idea that I thought was very interesting. The concept of one God means one unified purpose, with all people unified around a central, moral, ethical, purposeful existence where there is accountability and responsibility. That actually comes from the idea of one God. Idolatry was about many different gods and many different powers. And what the result was is that it was about more like the Greek mythology. You have the gods fighting each other, trying to kill each other, and it's all about appeasing the gods, and it's about how to get the gods to do what you want. And it's really more all about me and not so much about anyone else. And there's no accountability, there's no morality, there's no anything. There's only get the power to do what I want and beat the god of the other that not doing what I don't want. And that it creates a society and a focus and a mindset that is way more far-reaching. So I'm not sure why I never really thought about this, but I had a new understanding and appreciation for when we say Shema and we're talking about this idea of oneness and unification. It's not one God versus many gods. There is a very big ramifications for what happens to a mindset where there is a one unified deity that is of all existence and all creation and all people and all powers. Then when it gets divided up, it's not just some like it this way, some like it that way. So I just wanted to put that out there. We'll be talking about one at another class, but I just wanted to say that because it was something that I just heard the other day. Okay, for those of you who saw the topic for the class, that about baby steps, they're not what you thought they were. They're not what you think they are. And why are we talking about baby steps at all? So we've talked about over the years that each of the Hebrew months has what's called a spiritual quality that's associated with it, a spiritual sense. So like the five senses that we have of touch, taste, sight, smell, hearing, etc., there are months that have those senses, but there are additional senses. There is a sense of laughter, there's a sense of anger. Another month has the sense of unification. There's different senses. And the sense for the month of Sivan is the sense of walking, which means to make progress, to go someplace. And it's so perfect for this week's parsha, because in this week's parsha, we have a very famous line, and we're going to just start with that for now, and we'll come back to it. But it's on page 787 of your Chumash, which is in Parsha Baha'alotecha, probably the hardest parsha to say. And it is chapter 10, verse 35 and 36. It says, when the ark would journey, Moshe said, arise, Hashem, let your foes be scattered. Let those who hate you flee from before you. And when it rested, he would say, reside tranquilly, O Hashem, among the myriad thousands of Israel. Now, you may not necessarily recognize that in the English because most people never hear it in the English. We sing it. Vayehi binsoa ha'aron, vayomer Moshe, kuma Adonai, v'yafutzu oivecha, v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha. Hopefully that sounds a little familiar. And it is sung when we take the Torah out of the ark. because for us, the Torah coming out of the ark is the same as what Moshe was talking about, that when the Jewish people would journey and the ark would go forward. But interestingly, he says not when the Jewish people would journey, he says when the ark would journey. So who's journeying, the ark or the Jewish people? From Moshe's perspective and the perspective we're trying to get to is it's the ark with the Torah in it that is journeying through time, through space, into the world, throughout societies. And as the Jewish people who are bringing it, bringing the values of Torah, of humanity, of true justice, of truth, liberty, all of the things about maximizing the potential of human beings in this world, that's what we're supposed to be bringing to the world. And that's called the ark journeying. This is bracketed in the Hebrew with two inverted nuns, and it stands alone as its own book of Torah. So that's a side conversation. We've talked about that before, but it's considered its own book of Torah, that it has like these parentheses around it. And it's only, it's very short. That was a very short, very 2 verses, and that was it. It says, this is the book of journeying. And what's happening is that book is actually being written as we speak. It is being written with the journeys of the Jewish people throughout time. And in the future, you thought the Torah was long before, it's going to get a whole lot longer. Because when all of those words are put down about the journeys of us as a nation into diaspora and all of the accomplishments and challenges and achievements and growth and mistakes and everything else that happened and is happening to us and to us as individuals, that's that book. So right now it is just a capsule, and it's encapsulated with these 2 verses. And in the end, it will be opened up, and open up the book and you'll see our story will be in there. So our goal is to take the ark on this journey until we reach the final destination, which is the Torah getting out to the world. But first we have to take it to ourselves and be the ones who manifest it so that people have a clue about what it is that we're trying to make real in the world. So spiritual growth, this is totally appropriate because it's in the month of Sivan. We just celebrated, was it just last week? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. Shavuos, I'm so confused. Yes, we just had Shavuos, receiving the Torah. So we receive the Torah during the month of Sivan, which is the month that's about walking, that's about making progress, about being on the journey. And the Torah is the journey. In fact, if you notice, when we get to the very end of the Torah, we never cross into the land of Israel. It ends with Moshe's death, and Joshua is going to take over, but then we go all the way back to Bereshit and creation, and we don't ever get there until the book of Joshua, which you should really study at some point because it's really interesting and beautiful. Joshua is an amazing leader. So the whole thing is about the journey. So that's what we are on. We're on a journey, a spiritual journey. And when people are looking at spiritual growth and spiritual journey, one of the very famous messages people will say is, you know, when you're making changes and you're engaged in spiritual growth, or really any type of growth, people always say, you just need to take baby steps, right? Have you heard that before? You just need to take baby steps. So tell me, what do baby steps mean? When you hear that, baby steps, what does that usually mean when people say that? Feel free to unmute.
Going slow.
Going slow, okay? Going slow. Anything else?
Doing one thing at a time.
Like doing one thing at a time. Going slowly, doing one thing at a time. Okay, any other thoughts about what baby steps mean? And you're kind of picturing like this little, like
Kid.
baby steps, right? Okay, have any of you been around a baby recently?
Huh.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with how babies are? So the subtitle of our class tonight is, when I grow up, I want to be like my grandson Henry, and probably every other getting ready to walk baby that has existed in the world. Because we spent a month in Florida and I'm watching this baby. Why are young parents of young children exhausted? Is it because babies are moving slowly around, doing one thing at a time? No. No, they are not. So let's talk about what baby steps really mean. And
Mm.
then when we think about that spiritual growth, we should take baby steps or steps like a baby. It might be even more inspiring to us. Okay, so first of all, when a baby takes steps, if you notice, they are completely determined to get to whatever it is they want to get to. If they see it, you can see it on their faces. They're like a laser eyes focus, and they're going toward it. And can you stop them? No. Even if you physically pick them up and remove them, what do they do as soon as you set them right back down? They go right back. We were at a class last night. It wasn't my grandson, it was another baby, the exact same age. And this woman has been bringing her baby since he was born, which was great. And now he's starting to walk. So last night we were at the people's home who was hosting the class, and this baby wanted to climb the stairs. So this was during the class. So the baby's going over and climbing and walking up the stairs. The mother goes to get him, takes him down the stairs and puts him on the floor. The baby turns around, goes back up the stairs, turns around, goes, gets him, puts him on the floor. He goes back up the stairs. And he did this over and over and over again. Now, did he get upset about this, about being thwarted? She literally was holding him by his ankles, like to pull him down. No, big smile on his face is like, okay, you maybe brought me down, but that doesn't mean I'm not going back up. I thought, how many of us, now these babies don't go to a school on motivation and stick-to-itiveness and how to deal with obstacles that come in your life and what to do when people who are more powerful and stronger than you interfere in, what you're trying to accomplish. This is something that, thank God, God has hardwired into the brain, the developmental process of a child. I wish I would be that determined that if somebody yanked me by my ankles to bring me back, or even verbally or in some way made me think that I shouldn't be doing what I was trying to do of elevating, climbing up. It's like, that's interesting, you're doing that, I'm going up the stairs. And he just turned around and smiled and went right back up the stairs. I thought that is incredible. So very determined. Second, brave. How much energy would you have, wherewithal, to stand up to and defy someone who is as much bigger than you as an adult is to a child? Now, just think of just the size, weight, authority, loudness of voice, and power that an adult has compared to a child. Most of us would be like, I'll do whatever you say. We cower with much less than that. A baby doesn't care how important you think you are, how much power you have, how much authority. It's like, I'm going forward and you can't stop me. This is an incredible thing to take in from a baby. Also, babies are curious. They want to see what everything is. They are not complacent. Why do you have to put protectors in sockets, electrical sockets? That is an invitation for sticking something in, like your fingers, a fork. I mean, whatever it is, it's like, oh, there's something. So the desire to explore and be curious about the environment and what is around and what the opportunities are, that's a baby. And you can have a room that has all blank walls and has just one socket in some little recess. And guess what? That baby finds the socket. It's like, didn't you notice I had all the toys out here over here for you? Like, no, toys, that's different. There's a socket. So when there is something, the desire to explore and be curious and to go for it, this is how a baby walks around in this world. They are also willing to stretch themselves. You may think that a baby is very short when it's standing up, but a baby is willing to stand on the tip toes, stretch their arms way above their head, extend their fingers beyond where you thought was possible, and turn off all the lights in your house. Okay, they can go around and they could just reach. I'm like, I didn't even think you could reach that. And if they can't, they'll find something to stand on. This was another grandson and he's now 12, but he was trying to reach something and he found an avocado, which I wouldn't really recommend standing on if you're trying to reach something, an avocado that was in the produce basket, like in like a little whatever basket in the kitchen. He's like, oh, that'll work. So he just took the avocado and stood on it. So there's a little guacamole thing going on the floor, but that didn't really work. But he's like, hey, I'll use whatever I can. I will stretch myself. So the ability to say like, no, that's not out of my reach, because how often do we say, oh, that's beyond me. That's too much for me. I really can't. That's, sometimes I say that's above my pay grade. That's like, I can't do that. That's not really me. A baby is like, I see it, I want it, I will reach for it, and I will do everything I can to get there. They are also not self-conscious about falling and failing, which they don't even know those words. So to them, it's just part of the day, just part of the process, and they're not embarrassed or anything. They just get up and they resume right where they were. So a couple times we came over to see grandchildren. They had like a black and blue mark on their forehead. What happened? Oh, we fell off onto the stone floor, off of the couch. Now, if that happened to me, I'd be like, you know what? I think I'm staying away from stone floors. I think I won't be doing that activity anymore. But they're like, hey, no problem. I'm out there again. So they are undaunted, undeterred by whatever obstacle appears to be in their way. They do not schlep through their day. When they wake up in the morning, they don't like, oh, I worked so hard trying to walk yesterday and I didn't really make it. So I think I'm just going to stay in bed today. I think I'll read, have a bottle, stay in my bed, stay in my pajamas. They like, don't do that. They're like, okay, ready to go. Let's move forward. So the enthusiasm, the energy, the joy that goes into their day, I wish I could bottle that and have it. And what else? They are also happy with partial success. So what's the other thing that people do to baby-proof a house is they put like little lock things on the cupboard doors because the babies want to see what's inside cupboards, of course. So, but you never know when the adults might leave off the lock. And if you can get it open and get something out of the cupboard, then it's like, that's great. So there was a cupboard in our daughter's house that they have bins of like snacks. Like little packaged snacks. And our grandson's favorite thing was to be able to get into that cupboard and pull out two, what are they called? Granola bars, and like one in each hand, and like walk around and crawl around like, I got the granola bars. Meanwhile, he doesn't even know what it is. He doesn't eat them, but it's like, I got what was in that cupboard. And he is elated. So I'm like, I wish I could be a baby, because this is bred into us. Hashem puts this into us to get us through the initial part of our life. But then guess what? I know it's like when we hit adolescence or something, that all kind of tanks. And then we have to cultivate it ourselves. Then we have to put in an effort to do what comes naturally to a baby. So when we say that we want to have spiritual growth, you need to take baby steps. Put aside the slow and one thing at a time, because that's not what we're talking about. That's not really going to do it. It is fast. Why do children wander away from campsites? Did you ever wonder like that? How did that 2-year-old get lost? Or 18-month-old? Where was the family not watching them? Yes, they were watching them. It's just that a child can move so fast because all of these things propel them toward their goals. It wears the adults out. But for the children, this is how they move forward, and this is how they learn to walk, and this is how they learn to move in the world. We would do well to go to a class on how to take steps like a baby, and then we could make progress in our spiritual goals. To wake up every morning ready to go, kind of hitting the ground, literally running, and being ready to encounter whatever obstacles appear to stand in the way. And an adult saying no can be momentarily insulting, but it doesn't stop you. Can you imagine really if babies stopped every time anybody said no to them? They would never get anywhere. So they have to be defiant. It's not really defiant. They have to be brave. They have to be courageous. They have to persevere. And we should be so lucky to take baby steps like that. And during the month of Sivan, we do. Marjorie.
I was just thinking as you're talking, isn't that really a way for them to propel their learning?
For sure, absolutely. And they're learning about everything. Everything. They take in everything. They explore their environment, and they're thrilled to do it. And everything is interesting to them. Everything is interesting. Your shoes are interesting, let's lick the sole of your shoe. I mean, some of these is gross, but it's interesting. Did you know that toilet paper on a toilet roll that's very interesting? I think for cats and for babies, just unroll everything and put it in your mouth and see what that tastes like. So yes, they learn and learn and learn, and they wake up ready to take that in. Like, I wish I had that. But we have to cultivate it. And this is the time to do it when we say, so it's like, what does it mean that the month of Sivan is the month of walking? It's like, that sounds a little like, okay, you maybe had to literally reach for that. Does that really mean anything? But to be able to say, what does it mean to walk and to take steps? And what can we learn from babies on how to do that? So this is the significance of what we can learn from a baby. And it's not what we were always thinking of, oh, you just need to take baby steps, which makes it sound like it's toning down our efforts instead of revving them up, and moving forward with more energy, more determination, more enthusiasm, more curiosity, more bravery, more goal-oriented, more of all of that. Those are the steps that a baby takes. And that's what propels them to make progress and to really learn about their world. So people used to, I don't know if people used to think, I don't know what people thought, that the reason babies keep going back like to the outlet is that they don't remember that you said no last time. Oh, yes, they do. They remember. They just want to see, is the rule still the same? And like, why not? So I have to say, so our grandson he did get very insulted when he's going to the oven door, and also the dials for the gas stove are like within his reach now. And so they were very firm because it's dangerous. And they were like, no, you cannot touch that. And he was so insulted. He just like fell on the floor, like sobbing, and then got up and tried again. So it's like, I know you said no, but why is that no in the cupboard with the granola bars is okay when they both look like they have metal handles and they should be okay? So learning about the world, and truth is in our world, there are some things that are no, or that it's dangerous, but that can't be our overriding concern. Like me being overprotective, I have to say, my mother of blessed memory, whenever we wanted to do some kind of activity, she always managed to somehow know somebody who had gotten very severely hurt or killed doing it. So, horseback riding, no, someone got thrown. This, no, they died, or something happened that always made me a little overprotective about things like that. Anyway, to be able to have as an approach in life, to be able to go out there and discover and grow and to learn, the Torah means teaching. And in order to receive the teaching, we have to receive it. So God is giving the Torah. The extent to which we receive the Torah is the extent to which we get up and receive it and move forward to put ourselves in a place where we can accept it, open it up, learn from it, and take it in. So I have to say, just about my mom, she was actually a person who was very much like a child in the way of always wanting to learn more. In fact, in her very last hours before she passed away, was on a Shabbos, and my sister and my niece were with her, and they were giving divrei Torah so that she could hear and take in, and she just kept saying, more Torah, more Torah. So those were amongst her very last words that she said, that she wanted more Torah. So this is what we want, is more Torah should be on our lips. And how can I grow? How can I live with the Torah as I journey forth and journey forward? Okay. Any other thoughts about babies, that other qualities or aspects that are worthy of our emulation? Definitely want to hang out with babies. They're very inspiring and tiring. So, all right. When we talk about the journey of the Jewish people and the ark traveling, we have to talk about this parsha. This parsha is a very, very difficult parsha. One of the beauties of the Jewish people and Judaism and Torah, the Tanakh, is we don't sanitize or, what's the word? We don't sanitize our history. We don't take out the parts where we were acting in less than stellar ways. Thank you, Wendy. Intentionality and gratitude. Is that for babies? Intentionality and gratitude? Yes, they're very excited they're definitely intentional. That is for sure. And they're very grateful when you give them what they want. When we look at what the Jewish people did in this parsha, last week we were in Parsha Naso. It was the dedication, it was the gifts of each of the princes, of each of the tribes. It was a beautiful parsha. We read it at Hanukkah. It was so inspiring. And then in this week's parsha, what do we have? Let's take a look, because it starts to go downhill very fast. So if you look at, a second. It starts off okay. On page 775, we have the consecration of the Levites. We have the commandment about lighting the menorah, which is all great. And then we have, we have the complainers, and that's how it's identified. Page 789. And actually it starts, okay. It starts on the page before, page 787, the beginning of chapter 11, verse 1. The people took to seeking complaints. It was evil in the eyes of Hashem, and Hashem heard, and his wrath flared, and a fire burned against them, and it consumed at the edge of the camp. The people cried out to Moshe, and Moshe prayed to Hashem, and the fire died down. He named that place Taberah, for the fire of Hashem had burned against them. Okay, so they're complaining. And it's interesting because it says that people took to seeking complaints. What does it mean to seek complaints? It doesn't just say that they complained. They were seeking complaints. Now, all of us know people like this, and we may ourselves do this sometimes, is when we're looking for something negative to say. A way to see it in a negative way, to complain about something. This often will happen if you're in a conversation with a group of people who start to talk negatively about something, and it can be anything. It can be about a restaurant, a meal, God forbid, a person, a business, a country, a trip, anything where people start going down, and it's like they're seeking complaints. In order to be part of the conversation, you need to be on that wavelength of the complaints. Complaints beget complaints. It's like, oh, you know what? Now that you mention it, you're right. I really had a terrible time. You know, I maybe didn't think about it, but now that you brought it up, that's true. And did you see how she did this and how they did that? That was also terrible. So the idea of seeking complaints is a mindset of looking for things to complain about. Now, I remember when I was growing up, I don't know, maybe your parents said this, like if you were crying about something or complaining, like if you don't stop, I'll give you something to, complain about, something like that. It's like, okay, looking for complaints. Now, mind you, this is after they've witnessed all the wonders, received the Torah. They're still at Mount Sinai, and they are seeking complaints. It's like, what's wrong with us? What is wrong with us? But this is human nature. And what's beautiful is that this does not get edited out of the Torah, because it's here to teach us something. The world thinks that human beings and humanity will be perfected if we edit out and destroy all evidence of past wrongdoing, as if that will magically transform people. That will not magically transform people. People become transformed when they learn from their own mistakes and the mistakes of other people from the past. That is the only way. There is no way to erase it all. So if we look at this, where we are here, then it says the next thing that happened is on verse 4. The rabble that was among them cultivated a craving, and the children of Israel also wept once more and said, who will feed us meat? We remember the fish that we ate in Egypt. Now, mind you, the next thing they say is free of charge. Now, if you were to categorize your enslavement in Egypt, would you say, and the accommodations were free? It's like, Are you kidding me? You were a slave. What are you talking about? But the romanticizing of the past, and when you're looking to complain, even something that was bad compared to your current situation, you're going to turn into, I remember the good old days. It's like, I don't think so. So they said, we remember the fish that we ate in Egypt free of charge. This makes me laugh. It's like, you know that people did not write this because no one in their right mind would write this about their people. You would not, when people write, now it's become more popular because people can do it. You write a book about your family, like your family memories and like the grandparents, and here's the pictures. You do not include like all the stupid things that they said and did. In fact, when you're done reading, you're like, oh my gosh, this family is like saintly. So I'm not saying it has to be that, but we usually are not trying to point out all of our shortcomings. So remember, we ate the fish in Egypt free of charge, and the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But now our life is parched. There's nothing, and we have nothing to anticipate but the manna. It's like, never mind that the manna came like to their door every morning, tasted like whatever they wanted, and they could go out and get it and do whatever they wanted with it. It's like, no, we have nothing but this manna. We remember all of these other things. So the complaining, I have to say, when we say God is patient and infinitely patient, I'm like, it's a good thing God is God and not me, God, because I think I would be fed up. Okay, so then it goes on to talk about how beautiful the manna was. And Moshe is beyond going crazy. And verse 10, Moses heard the people weeping in their family groups, each one at the entrance of his tent. Can you imagine this scene? And the wrath of Hashem flared greatly, and in the eyes of Moses, it was bad. It's like, this is bad news. Moses said to Hashem, why have you done evil to your servant? Why have I not found favor in your eyes that you place the burden of this entire people upon me? Did I conceive this entire people? Did I give birth to it? Did you say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carries a suckling to the land that you swore to its forefathers? Where am I going to meat from to feed this entire people when they weep to me saying, give us meat that we may eat? I cannot carry this nation alone, for it's too heavy for me. And if this is, you can imagine your mother saying this too, if this is how you deal with me, then kill me now. It's like, if this is how they're going to be, just kill me now. I don't want to have any part of this. If I have found favor in your eyes, then let me not see my evil. So then this is when the Sanhedrin gets developed, and Hashem's like, okay, mind you, God doesn't say, Moses, why are you getting so upset about this? He's like, you're right. Why don't you pick 70 people who can help you carry this group, because this is too much for one person and they're crazy. And God is going to have them eat meat. It's like, you want meat? I'll give you meat. And he makes the meat come, the quail come, and what happens there? It says, verse 18, I'm sorry, verse 19, not for 1 day shall you eat, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, until an entire month of days, until it comes out of your nose and becomes nauseating to you, because you have rejected Hashem, who is in your midst, and you have wept before him, saying, why did we leave Egypt? Again, if you were going to edit the family story, you'd be like, can we just skip over this? So we've got the complainers, we've got the complaints about the manna. And then we have also the sad situation of Miriam talking to Aaron about Moshe, and Miriam gets Sarat. And that's really at the end of the parsha. It's like, oh my goodness, can we not do this? So it seems that this is all human nature. Everything that is discussed here is human nature, and human nature does not evolve. The reason it's still here is that we are still subject to the same challenges. And every person has to go through their own journey to make progress in dealing with these character flaws, these challenges. This is what our life is about, is overcoming this. So this parsha is a very challenging parsha to go through. And yet in the middle of it, it has Vayihi Binso Haron Vayomer Moshe. And when the ark would travel, And Moshe would pray that the Jewish people should not have all the challenges that we have. And I look around and see, I mean, as each of us can, look around to see the challenges we have now. People think this is something new, that people have complaints and that people are rebelling against, the leadership and authority and all of these things. This is not new. This is, unfortunately, it's a repeat. It's a repeat. And we see how much of an effort needs to be exerted in order to master not falling into these traps. And so this is the parsha of Baha'alotecha. So it's interesting that the parsha begins with something that is so disconnected from all of these negative steps that the Jewish people are engaged in. And what does it start with? It starts with the kindling of the menorah. If anything holds out hope, it is the kindling of the menorah. So let's go back to page 775. 775, chapter 8, verse 1. Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you kindle the lamp toward the face of the menorah, shall the 7 lamps cast light." Aaron did so toward the face of the menorah. He kindled its lamps as Hashem had commanded Moshe. This is the workmanship of the menorah, hammered out gold from its base to its flower. It is hammered out. According to the vision that Hashem showed Moshe, so did he make the menorah. So it's very interesting that we are told again how the menorah looked. Because if you remember, way, way back in the book of Exodus, during all of those parshas about the building of the Mishkan, one of the sections was devoted to what the menorah looks like. Does anybody remember what it looks like, where it says here, from its base to its flower? What was the menorah fashioned after? What did it look like? Does anybody remember? Darlene, do you want to unmute?
What, you mean like the branches or like an almond?
Yes.
A flower?
like-
Well,
yeah,
they
the
were
whole thing. It was meant to look like an almond tree.
an almond tree, and it was like kind of the bulb things were sort of, I don't know, the leaves or whatever. And there were 3 branches on each side, all the same level, not like a Chanukiah, and a middle one, and 3 branches come together and one in the middle. And there were, things about the almond tree.
Yes. So it's made like an
Shady.
almond tree. So it's a shakedia parachat. A shaked is an almond tree. So this is interesting because Baha'alotecha, you might want to think about, besides being hard to say, this whole parsha is called Baha'alotecha, and it does come from the beginning words. But what does it mean? It means to kindle, from the word like aliyah, Baha'alotecha, something ha'alot. I needed to use that word today because we wanted to increase the credit limit on our credit card. And so I had to look up, like, it's laha'alot, to elevate, to raise up. So to raise up the lights, says this is the theme for the entire parsha, even though it's comes from the opening word. And now you might say, doesn't seem like it's really fitting here because we're talking about the elevation and the lights, which is always about spirituality and wisdom and the menorah. And then we're talking about what the Jewish people are going through and the challenges and the wrong things that they're doing. And so how does that go together? And this is where the message of what the menorah looked like comes to tell us, because the menorah looks like a tree. And what's the nature of a tree? Is a tree is about growth. Okay, so you have the trunk, which is kind of nondescript. That's just the base. And then you had the flowers and you have the fruit. And the whole thing is on there, the trunk, the branches, the flower, and the fruit. What is that telling me? It's telling me that I am a work in progress. I am continuously growing. I am making mistakes and I continue to grow, because what's the most important thing? Laha'alot, to kindle yourself, to get yourself up. If you fall down, and not even if, when you fall down, be like the baby and get up and still smile and move forward. the Jewish people could have, by the end of this parsha with Miriam and having Sarat, they could have said, wow, if Miriam got in so much trouble, like there's no hope for any of us. I think like this whole experiment is over. But that's not what happened. They waited for her until the Sarat was gone. She came back into the camp, and guess what they did? They moved forward. So the answer is always keep moving forward. As I said in my email, this week was a very, very painful week with the deaths of so many people. And I told you we had personal connections to them. There are 3 yeshiva boys from Shalavim, not the American program, but 3 from the yeshiva. One was my brother-in-law's colleague. He sent us a video. I was actually going to try and show it to you, but I couldn't figure out how to get it up. A rabbi who teaches at this yeshiva that's for boys who have like ADD and ADHD, beloved rabbi. His daughter, one of his daughters recently got married, and he was supposed to be making a wedding for his other daughter like in the next couple of weeks, and killed. And then 2 people from our community here, from the yeshiva here, and everything hits home. So our son Benjamin went to 2 of the funerals. What was it? Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. And he said it was so sad, so painful, and so inspiring that the parents, the spouses, talking about how proud they are of, not in the glorification of death or dying, we're not like that, but of serving the Jewish people and doing things to help save us and protect us and to protect our homeland, of how much pride and moving forward. And it is, to me, beyond comprehension how people are doing this, beyond comprehension. So it is so challenging to think. So it's not just the mistakes that we keep moving forward from. It is all of the setbacks, all of the obstacles. And so we notice too, now we go back again and we'll see it in a different way, that when we go back, when it talked about the ark journeying, when we go back to page 787, when the ark would journey, that's chapter 10, verse 35, when the ark would journey, Moshe said, "Arise, Hashem, and let your foes be scattered. Let those who hate you flee from before you." So these are about foes and those who hate you. But the truth is, it's about anything that is trying to stand in our way, any obstacles to our destination, to our goals, to where we are trying to reach. But isn't that an interesting assumption? The assumption is that they're going to be there. We think that the norm is we should be able to just get to where we want to go without any obstacles. And this is saying, no, that's what it's going to be. That is the journey. The journey is through, around, over the obstacles. And what does the baby do? Climbs over the couch and goes to the cupboard and gets the granola bars. It's like, you're not stopping me. You're not stopping me. And keep going. And that has been the Jewish people. And that has been also these journeys. This is every time the Torah is read on Monday, Thursday, Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon. When the Torah comes out, it's a reminder that we're saying our journey continues. We are in exile. Even in the land of Israel, it's still an exile experience to a great extent because we are dependent on the whims of so many external forces. So there are still the obstacles that are here. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? And the first thing we know not to do is to give up, because this parsha is baha'alotecha, and it's in the singular. You as an individual should elevate yourself. And it's not lehadlik. This is interesting because you would think that it would be the word lehadlik. So when we say the blessing for lighting the Shabbat candles or Hanukkah, it's asher kitshanu mitzvotav etzivanu lehadlik ner, to light, to kindle, to light the candle. It doesn't say here that Aaron should kindle the light. It says that he should baha'alotecha. he should raise them up, raise it up, raise up the light. And every day, and when was this done? Like every day. So what do we need to do? So it's like every day, Bahalotecha. You started complaining, Bahalotecha, get up. You were, whining about the manna, saying things are better in the good old days. You're speaking Lashon Hara, you're messing up, like all these things. It could be a day full, like all of these mistakes in one day, Bahalotecha. Just get up and keep moving forward. If we can do that, we can actually make progress. And if we do it like a baby, we can make really great progress. We can have our goal in mind. We can be enthusiastic. We can be happy. We can be refreshed. We are not bogged down by the mistakes of yesterday that keep us from moving forward today. So it says that to have this word in mind, it's almost like the Jewish people need Baha'alotecha as a cushion to hold them through the parsha that's going to talk about all the things that were really like a yerida, a going down. It's like Baha'alotecha, you need to come back up. You need to come back up. The other thing to point out is one might think that by the end of this parsha, talking about Miriam, that maybe she'd be on our not good list. Like, well, see, we thought she was so great, but now you see she's not so great. My sister's name is Miriam Devorah. Miriam, we name our children Miriam. This is a beautiful name. This is one of the women. She was a Niviah. She's a prophetess. We also don't cancel out people for the mistakes that they've made and discount the great things that they accomplished. We learn from them. In fact, we are told that there are six remembrances, 6 things that we're always supposed to remember, like every single day. And one of them is remember what happened to Miriam. That's one of the things. You say, do you have to keep bringing that up? If I were Miriam, I'd be like, can we not mention this all the time? But every single day, remember what happened to Miriam. And yes, we want to remember, since Miriam opened up the opportunity that for doing teshuvah, for correcting ourselves, and then going right back to the encampment. And can you imagine it'd be so embarrassing? You just continue on. You pick yourself up and you continue on. I have to say, I still remember this it wasn't a sin. It was just awkward. Being in junior high school, going down to the science department outside Euclid Junior High, you entered the building from the outside, and there was a pretty steep hill to go down. And I remember just like one of those cold, icy Colorado mornings, and I was walking in front. I was like a 7th grader, and there were like 9th graders behind me, boys. And I slipped on the ice and, went flying. And I mean, I didn't really hurt myself. The only thing that was hurt was my pride. Can I tell you, that didn't go that way again. Like I went the long way around through the halls rather than go down there. I'm like, I'm not risking that. So I don't really advise that approach. It's like, if you stay away from everything that ever caused a problem, you would never move. So, but the idea of not being embarrassed and saying, okay, and then just getting up and moving forward. So Baha'alotecha, in order to elevate and kindle. And what's the focus to? Is to raise ourselves up. And what's our guidance? Our guidance are those lights of the menorah, because the menorah symbolizes wisdom, spiritual wisdom that comes to us through the Torah, that is supposed to guide us every step of the way, like a torch, every step of the way on our journey through our lives. And if we can get to that place, then we will be able to have a beacon to bring us up at each of these times when we find ourselves slipping, falling, tripping, or whatever it is that is causing us a challenge. So we're going up, and even like the little baby last night, I'm going up those stairs, and even somebody's pulling me by my ankles, pulling me down, saying, you're not going up. It's like, yes, I am. I'm going up. I'm going up. I'm going up. And this is the mantra that we want in our head. I just have this picture of this little boy, Yitzchak, and I'm just holding that in my head. He was determined to get up those stairs, no matter how many times his mother tried to get him to come down. It's like, okay, you just keep going up. This has been the nature of the Jewish people. If you look through history, recent history, did you see that was the science, not science Olympics, but the science something, the world science competition. Like the people who came in first place were like all these Israeli Jewish kids. Like, how are they having the mindset when everyone is like so traumatized? How are they doing that? And then did you notice like all of these different sports things, like the Israelis are taking first like gold or silver, like in all these sports, I don't even know anything about them. It's like everyone, they're still like moving forward. And then I read that at the Weizmann Institute, the scientists have come up with something that they discovered about the nature of light and quantum mechanics that will allow something. And I'm like, how are you thinking about this with everything that's going on? And we know that throughout Jewish history, the times of the most oppression was some of the most prolific wisdom writing of our people. Rabbi Akiva, a book I have that's called Em Habanim Smecha, a woman without children, who's joyful with children. He wrote that while he was on the run from the Nazis, and he was then killed. But he wrote it, and I think I've mentioned this before, that he didn't have his sources with him. And so in the text, he's like, I apologize, like I'm in an attic and I don't have the source to give you, but I know that it said A, B, or C. I'm like, how are you even thinking about anything, let alone writing a beautiful sefer for us to enjoy and be inspired by in the future? So there was a beautiful, Marla didn't have a chance to see what you sent me about Eden from the Eurovision, but she was also interviewed by Noah. What's her last name? Anyway, she was interviewed and she was
Tishby.
Thank you. Right, Noah Tishby. Thank you. And she said that she went out with strength, like almost like the more booing, the more yelling, the more oppression, the more threats, the more everything, the more she felt the love of her supporters and of the Jewish people. She goes, I went out so strong, not like I covered up my anxiety really well. It's like, no, I was actually strengthened by it. So this reminds me of emotional martial arts. Because in martial arts, which I've never taken, but from what I understand, is like you use the energy of the person that is attacking you to undo them. So like when you flip them over, you use the energy that they're coming at you with, you do something and it propels them the other way. The negativity is still energy. And instead of absorbing the negative energy, it transformed into positive energy. I have to say, I wonder if her performance would have been as good had she not had all of the threats and everything else and obstacles in front of her. It's super amazing. All of these people are so inspiring to us, and they give us the same measure, Baha'alotacha, and you shall elevate and uplift and kindle yourself and kindle that light in you and get up and keep moving forward. Vayihi bin soa ha'aron vayomer Moshe. When the ark would travel, this is what Moshe would say, and he would say, may your enemies, foes be scattered, let those who hate you flee from before you. And when it rested, he would say, reside tranquilly, O Hashem, among the myriad thousands of Israel. So there are two parts here. There's the going, where there are all the obstacles, and then at the end, there's the rest. But nowhere does it say that the journey is going to be restful. The journey is going to be the process of encountering the obstacles. When we know how to go through that and we take baby steps, we will be able to get to our ultimate destination. So God willing, as we enter into this Shabbos, we were able to have this in mind and think about how we can take baby steps in each of the efforts that we're trying to make in our own spiritual journeys. It's interesting that our journey includes not just the challenges and obstacles, but the good things too. It says like, why are we where we are? Because otherwise it's like, oh my gosh, Ellen just said like every moment of our day until like Mashiach comes, we're gonna just have one obstacle after the next. It says, that's not true either, that the our journey is multifaceted and has so many opportunities and so many blessings. And that's part of the journey as well, is what do we do with the opportunities? So then I think, Wendy, when you said about the gratitude and the, I forgot the other word you used, the intentionality, is that we are in this world to bring the whole world and all of our life's experiences to an place, which means the good things too. How do we do this? That how are we supposed to do this? So it says, for example, that we come into this world and we don't know exactly our purpose, but we know that wherever we are, there is one, and it can be in something small. So you've heard the stories, and it can be something kind of, this is a medium example, and if you give me a few minutes, I'll tell you even like a smaller example. Somebody's on a trip, an airplane trip, and they get diverted and they go to another airport and they're stuck there and they're not where they thought they wanted to be or were supposed to be. But it ends up that they meet somebody at the airport, and they have a conversation, and that makes some sort of a connection. So there's all sorts of stories about somebody who had a yard site and they had never said Kaddish or anything before. And there was a group of like 9 religious men who were on this flight that they were supposed to go to a convention, and they got snowed out. So they ended up in this airport and they needed to make a minyan. And they asked like this janitor person, like, do you happen to be Jewish? And he's like, yes. It's like, oh, we need a minyan. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's my father's yard site. And he came to me in a dream last night and said, you need to say Kaddish for me. I'm like, I always want to say Kaddish. I work in an airport. And I can't believe you're right here. So we don't know why things are happening the way they happen, but every place we go, there is an opportunity. It says, I'm sorry. So that even it says I have a drink of water here. It says, what's my spiritual opportunity? It says, there are spiritual lights that are in this water that need to be elevated and connected to their divine source. When I make a blessing over this water, I have redeemed this water. When I eat bread, when I get up in the morning, when I go to the bathroom, acknowledge what's happening. When I see a beautiful sight, I make a bracha on lightning or thunder or seeing a beautiful mountain. All of these things this is part of the journey too. It brings every single experience within the framework of spiritual growth. That's my journey. So yes, there will be obstacles. And we did talk a lot about those because that's what usually challenges us the most. And we have to realize that the whole thing is a journey, every single moment, and filled with opportunity. And we should be curious to know, what's the opportunity in this for me right now? So when we have, whether it's a drink of water in front of us, a person in front of us, a class in front of us, a colleague, a friend, any situations, like what is the spiritual opportunity that is in front of me right now? And how is my journey progressing as a result of encountering it and embracing it? Go forward, God willing, we will embrace our journey, be successful, raise ourselves up when we face the challenges, take baby steps that are truly baby steps, and we will get to where we eventually are meant to arrive. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Oh, I know I was going to tell you in case you didn't see it, is we are planning a trip to Denver.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be able to see you. It's going to be short, but I'll look forward to seeing you that day, hopefully when we are there.
That's it. Thursday?
Thursday.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. What
Yeah.
time shall we book?
I have no idea yet. We haven't made any further plans other than buying the tickets to Denver and knowing that it's
That's
Thursday.
wonderful.
It'll probably be during the afternoon, either late morning, afternoon. We'll figure it all out. But I
Wonderful.
just
Sounds great.
put it on your calendar because I want to see
I
you.
did already. I put it on my calendar.
July 19th?
I'm sorry.
Hi,
July.
I had a wonderful experience. My son was actually in Israel this last weekend, and like 5 days. He's now in Greece, but he did go to Israel. He has a to-be 14-year-old son who really hasn't gotten, he wasn't studying to be a bar mitzvah. It just wasn't quite right, or not now. So I woke up, I think Sunday morning, and I said, oh my goodness, I think there's no reason why he can't be a bar mitzvah, go to the wall and, and do that. So I text my son and I told him about this. And my son was actually thinking about it. They went to the wall. They found out that on Mondays, of course, you take out the Torah.
Yeah.
And he got a kippah. He got his talit. There was a Chabad man there on Sunday that put tefillin on him. And Monday morning, they went there in the morning to the wall, and they found someone, and he went to the Torah, because that's what you have to do, and he became a bar mitzvah by the wall in Israel. And it just
Mazel tov.
ever.
That's
And then
so nice.
And then he said to me, which was even more wonderful, goes, I think now I want to go home they live in Austin, and do it again and read the Torah. So
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Wow. That is so
So
beautiful.
But-
That's
thank you.
amazing.
Yeah,
And did
so
they
I
know-
thought,
Mazel tov.
thank
Colleen,
you.
did,
I thought that
did
was just
they
wonderful.
know that Monday, did they intentionally go on a Monday when the Torah would be read, or that's just when they?
That exactly. No. My son talked to one of the Chabad rabbis there, and they said on Monday we can do this. So they got up early in the morning and they did it, and I had pictures of it, and I'm like, if we had thought about it before, I would have just flown to Israel to do this, of course. But the night before, I'm thinking about it, go, oh my God, my son could be a bar mitzvah, because there's no reason why not to. He's of age, he's Jewish, and everything's good, So my son, thank God, did want to do that, and I kept encouraging him, and they did, and he is. So I
That's
thought,
wonderful. And I want to I just want to say
Baruch
also that your opportunity was to encourage your son, because you said he was thinking about it, and he might have been like thinking a lot about it, but maybe not
he wa-
100%. And
yes,
you saying something, the right thing at the right time.
right.
And once he was there, and maybe if you would have said something beforehand, it might not have been the right time. And you're like, no, but that was a great way to act on your
Yeah, he took it.
wonderful
He's
grandmotherly.
starting, I'm starting to keep talking to him more, my son, and he's joined a show in Austin, and he's getting, and then when I said, oh my God, he can do this, it's just like one of these things that just happen in your head, and he he agreed to it, and he did everything he needed to do, and my grandson was happy to do it, which is the real part, the good part.
That's
And,
right.
He was so I'm going to certainly continue to encourage him, because that would just be, for me, that would be, so
Yes. Beautiful.
really,
So happy to hear that.
thank you,
Mazel
What a mazel tov.
thank you.
Great.
Did you say they went to the hotel on Sunday first? Or just,
I'm sorry.
did you say that they went to the hotel on Sunday?
They went to the hotel. They went on Sunday, and they
Oh.
met one of the rabbis, and they were discussing doing a bar mitzvah. And he said, "Come Monday, because Monday is when they come to the Torah is out." So
Coincidentally, I was there on Sunday. Our grandson is going to be bar mitzvahed next. Well, I live in Israel, so he's
Oh.
going to be bar mitzvahed in 4 weeks. So typically
oh
they
my goodness,
put on tefillin for the first time a month.
Right.
So he did that at the hotel. So I'm going to say I was there.
Darlene was there with your
But there were a lot
grandson
of people.
celebrating.
oh, that's so exciting.
All right,
That's
Mazel.
great. Thank you,
Oh
thank
my
you.
God, both of you are now. That's amazing. Good luck.
It's
in
a
forward.
small world. He should go from strength to strength, and his
Thank you.
journey should be successful, and any obstacles should just dissipate
Fly
into
away.
him and fly away and just go straight. So
You got
we don't tell
inspired.
people that they're going to have obstacles. We just wish them that they have no obstacles, and that they deal with them however they are, and that he should just have
Yeah,
happy life. And,
Yeah, I said, and this
Um,
could be memory or such a starting of something big, because here in Israel, by the wall, being a bar mitzvah, I can't think of anything better. I mean, what could be better?
It's
So,
amazing. So beautiful. You should
Absolutely.
continue to have nachas from your children and grandchildren.
thank you. Thank you.
Amen. Very
All
emotional.
right, ladies, thank you
Ellen?
so much for joining me. Yes.
What is the date that you're coming to Denver?
We are going to be
19th.
there. Is it
September 19th?
Thursday, September
19th.
19th?
September 19th.
Ellen, you can use my house and my
Oh,
backyard, whatever.
Thank you. I think we'll probably do something like maybe at the Jewish Experience or something
Okay.
like that, but thank you so much for offering. Thank you.
Did you, I didn't hear the date. I'm sorry.
The September 19th. 19th.
September 19th.
19th.
Thank you. What,
Yay.
Okay. Well, good
All
job.
right. Ladies, have a great Shabbos. It was
You
wonderful
too.
to see you.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
Ellen.
Another
How's it go?
fabulous class. Thank you, Ellen.
My pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Ilana. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow. I have 2 doctors on the 19th. I hope it works out with the timing.
Okay, I don't know what the timing is going to be. We have a kind of a lot of things to coordinate, but I'll let you know as soon as I know. What time's your
Yeah.
doctor?
Well, I have to be at the hospital at 11, and I have one back to back. So the other one I won't be done till from 11 to almost 3. That's bad. I'm busy with 2 doctors. I usually don't put back to back.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work, Gabi. We'll be in touch, okay?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we have something in the evening also that's already scheduled. Okay, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, what a pity that I have 2 in a row, and very hard ones to move. It takes months to get them.
I totally understand.
Yeah,
Totally
but of course I want to hug you, so maybe I'll catch you in the end of
We'll
the
figure
meeting.
it out. I'll let you
Afternoon.
know when I have a better sense of what it's going to
Sure.
be.
No
Okay.
problem. Yeah, Yasher
All right.
Koach, and hugs
Thank
to both
you.
of you.
Okay, give my best to Peter.
Thank you so much. He left for 6 days to Orlando to a meeting, a work meeting, so
Wow.
I'll
Okay.
be alone, but I have the kids. So with the
All
kids in.
right.
Okay. Be well.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.